Welcome back to the Success Today show. My guest today is Naveen Krsna. Naveen, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You have had an interesting life, maybe a not very old life. You haven't been around for very long, but I'm telling you, you've been through some amazing things. I mean, you took your income and multiplied it by 10 times. And you have written a new book called Habit Magic. What a great book. You know, people don't like to change their habits, do they?
No, they don't.
So tell us a little bit about why you wrote a book called Habit Magic.
Well, I realized through my studying that everyone has these impressions that are embedded, that are fed into us, by the outside world, parents, schooling. I mean, constantly we're being
religious
bombarded.
Teachers,
oh
everything.
My God, so much. Constantly being bombarded by what everybody else thinks is true.
Yeah.
But actually, the only thing that is true is what is within us, what we believe to be true.
I see.
Our own truth is completely different from what everybody else says is true.
Yeah.
So I realized that it requires a change in our behavior in order to change the results that we have in our life. And that comes, it all begins in the mind. We have to...
What you think first, and that affects what we end up doing in actions.
Absolutely. Because it becomes habitualized. The impressions become so deep, they're called samskars in Sanskrit. The impressions become so deeply ingrained into our consciousness that we don't have the ability to do anything else other than what just comes naturally.
It's almost like a software, isn't it? When you start talking about some of the things that you talk about in your book, it's almost like there's a software playing. But
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not our software.
Exactly.
Is that the way you find it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's thoughts going on constantly, this mental activity that's constantly going on, but it's not what we want to be thinking or what we want to be doing, because the results are not really what we want.
Yeah.
And so it requires great change for that.
But you have to be a young person to be able to affect that change. Because I think a lot of people, especially in my age bracket, may think that it takes. It's almost too late for us. Have you found that your material will work for sort of just about anybody?
It will. The reason I focus more on the youth is because the impressions aren't so deeply ingrained. As we age, what happens is the impressions become stronger. They become solidified.
And we become like pig-headed.
Exactly. And so the stubbornness comes in age because life experience happens, right? And then life experience all of a sudden becomes intelligence. But that's not the truth, because intelligence is the only truth.
But the needs that the people you talk to have are things, I think, like being stuck in their head. They feel like, for instance, they can only make this kind of money.
Right.
They feel that they're looking for something, but they don't know where to get it. Is that the kind of things that your book really is designed to provide practical strategies about?
Absolutely. I get it a lot. People come to me and they're like, oh, I don't know.
And you're a coach, or a consultant, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. I meet with people all the time and they tell me, okay, this is what I want, but I just don't know how, this and that. And I say, everything starts with just sitting down and opening up a book and destroying ignorance. I say destroying.
I love that.
I say destroying because it's the only way to change anything is to destroy ignorance. We have to get rid of it.
And that's something everybody has. I mean, to some degree,
of course.
All of us are ignorant, meaning we don't know certain things. I love that idea. But on a practical level, Naveen, what does your book give us instructions on in terms of how do you get unstuck? Like, what could our viewers specifically do to help them sort of break through those barriers that tend to keep us where we are?
Absolutely. Well, it all starts with the choice. First, we have to choose.
Okay.
We have to choose to move in a different direction than we're going now. Yeah. If we see a direction that we're moving and we don't like it, we have to say, okay, I'm through with this. I'm going to let this go and move in a new direction.
So I think that's an important thing you're saying, because most people don't even stop to think. Like, I could choose something different. Okay, so first of all, we got to make a choice. And does that come by self-examination? Does that come by looking at another person? I mean, you've worked internationally, from what I've read. You've been all over the world. You've helped all kinds of people. You've had major success in your own life. But does that apply to everybody? Do they have to look at somebody like you and say, I'm ready to make a choice? Or what's the impetus for making a choice?
Well, definitely we look at others that do have what it is that we want, and that can be inspiration to making the choice and move forward. It really comes from looking within and saying, okay, I'm not happy with these results. What is it going to take for me to change them? And this is what my book gives. It gives practical, real-world advice for people to just say, oh, okay, this is what I do. Oh, okay, instead of these extra 5 minutes that I spend wasting time in the morning, all I have to do is just read this one affirmation, write it down.
Okay, yeah.
And really simple exercises that just through repetition will create new impressions into the mind.
Can anybody change any habit?
Absolutely.
And no matter how long they've been doing something the opposite way,
I believe that it becomes more difficult as a person ages because the habit becomes more solidified, like I was saying earlier. It becomes hard as a rock, so you have to chisel away at it more slowly. Whereas, at the younger generation, our rocks are still kind of soft, so we can mold them a little bit better, and it can happen a lot quicker, which is why in the last, 3 years I've been able to increase my income 10 times, because I have just drilled over and over and over these things.
Well, let me thank you for being here. I wish we had more time. We'll have to have you back again where we could delve into these things. I found that your material is very practical, step by step by step, which I think is different in a lot of the books we've read throughout our life. But if somebody wanted to get more information, where do they get information about going to the next level, or maybe even getting Habit Magic as a book?
Absolutely. They would just go to lifechanginghabits.com.
Lifechanginghabits.com. Well, I want to thank you for being here, and we'll be back right after this. Thanks, Naveen.